She appears like a whisper in the crowd. Yet suddenly, the whole world seems to turn and follow her. She steps onto the city street as if the night has been waiting for her. The pavement glistens from a light drizzle, each raindrop reflecting the glow of neon lights. The traffic hums in the distance, but in this moment the sound feels muted. The world slows. All that remains is her silhouette, tall and graceful, moving with a rhythm that makes even the chaos of the city seem like a song composed for her alone. We do not see her face, yet we know she carries something rare, an aura that makes strangers pause. The sound of heels against the wet ground echoes like a heartbeat. Passing headlights blur in the background, casting her shadow long and soft across the street. A store window catches her reflection. She does not stop to look, yet her presence transforms glass into poetry. The camera follows her from behind, capturing only fragments, her coat swaying lightly, the curve of her hand brushing against the folds of her dress, the tilt of her head as though she listens to something only she can hear. She is not rushing. She is not waiting. She simply moves as though time belongs to her. And in that stillness, the city itself bends toward her presence. The song, Pretty Woman, is not just music here, it is atmosphere. The melody becomes the invisible companion of her walk, as if every lyric belongs to her. The city breathes with the rhythm of the song, lights flicker on cue. Passing strangers steal glances, and yet no one dares to step closer. It is the story of a lure written without words. The scene shifts. She passes a flower stand at the corner. A single rose catches the breeze and tilts toward her as though drawn. She pauses for just a second, not enough to reach. Not enough to claim, but the rose lingers in the frame, a symbol of beauty that reflects her own. The vendor looks up, sensing something, but she has already continued forward, leaving only the faint trace of mystery behind. The narration deepens. Sometimes, beauty is not in the face but in the aura it carries. Sometimes the most unforgettable people are not those who speak loudly, but those who move through life quietly, yet leave echoes long after they've passed. A shot of her footsteps fills the screen. The puddle mirrors the city lights above, reds, blues, and golds shimmering with each step. Her walk becomes a dance between reality and dream. For a moment, the viewer feels as though they are walking beside her, experiencing the world through her rhythm, tasting the air she moves through. Then comes the shift in tone. The voiceover softens. We never know when someone will walk into our lives and change the way we see the world. Sometimes it happens in an instant, a glance, a moment too short to hold but too powerful to forget. The screen shows her entering a quiet street away from the crowd. The neon lights fade into the warmth of street lamps. A small breeze plays with the ends of her hair, though her face remains unseen. The frame narrows, capturing only her hand resting by her side as she pauses, as if waiting for someone or perhaps for nothing at all. The section closes with the camera slowly pulling back. The music rises and the voiceover whispers, "She is not just a woman in the city. She is the beginning of a story, the kind of story that lingers in memory, even if it lasts only a single night." Fade to black, asterisk, they do not meet with words. They meet with silence. A silence that speaks louder than sound. It happens in the simplest of places. A small cafe on the corner where windows fog with warmth, where time feels slower than the rest of the city. She sits at a table by the glass, her silhouette outlined by the golden glow inside. The world outside is blurred, only she is in focus. He enters quietly, not looking for her, yet somehow drawn to the same light that surrounds her. The camera never shows their faces, only fragments, the way her hand cradles a coffee cup, steam rising like a secret between them, the way his chair scrapes softly against the floor as he sits a table away. The distance is small, yet it carries the weight of something larger, an invisible thread stretched thin between two strangers. The song, "It Must Have Been Love," breathes through the background. The notes fall like soft rain, carrying the fragile excitement of something new, something unspoken. A moment passes, then another. Their eyes are never shown, yet the story is told through gestures. She lifts her cup. He glances. His hand brushes the edge of his book as though unsure whether to read or to reach. For a second, their movements sync, cups placed down in unison, spoons stirring rhythmically like a heartbeat shared. The music swells softly, as if aware of the hidden dance playing out. Outside, raindrops slide down the glass. A bus passes, lights streaking across the window, but inside, time remains suspended. They do not speak. Yet something blooms in the quiet space between them. The narration begins. Sometimes love does not arrive with thunder. It arrives in whispers, in glances, in the quiet rhythm of two lives brushing past one another. And when it does, even the smallest of moments becomes unforgettable. The screen shifts. Days pass, but we do not see calendars or clocks. We see moments. Two silhouettes walking side by side down a park path, autumn leaves falling like golden confetti. Their hands nearly touching, pulling back, then brushing again. A shared umbrella under gentle rain, their shoulders pressed close. Laughter escaping, though never shown. These are not grand gestures. They are fragments stitched together, each one heavier than the last because of its simplicity. The facelessness makes them universal. The viewer does not need to know who they are, only what they feel. The voiceover softens. We call it love when two hearts recognize each other without a word, when the air feels different, lighter, because someone is near. It is not always seen, it is felt. And in those feelings, entire worlds are built. As the song rises, the visuals grow warmer. Light spills through windows, soft morning hues paint the air, and we see shadows moving across walls, the curve of her hair falling forward as she leans closer, the outline of his hand offering hers. The world outside remains blurred, for inside their story, nothing else matters. Then, a striking moment. A close-up of two coffee cups placed side by side, the steam rising and merging into one. The music swells as if marking the turning point, no longer strangers, but souls caught in the quiet certainty of something real. The camera follows them through a series of fleeting frames. A train station where they wait together without speaking. A bookstore where one hands the other a book with no title shown. A rainy night where they stop under a single lamppost, not moving, as if the world is too beautiful to leave behind. The narration deepens. Love is not always fireworks. Sometimes love is the calm. It is the comfort of silence, the warmth of a presence, the knowledge that someone sees you even when no words are spoken. The section closes with a lingering image, their hands finally meeting, fingers intertwining slowly, as though afraid the moment might break if rushed. The frame holds, the music softens, and the screen fades gently into black. And in that single touch, the voiceover whispers, they knew this was no ordinary night. This was the beginning of everything. Asterisk, the warmth begins to fade. Not all at once, but slowly, like a candle burning lower than it once did. Love, so alive and laughter and light, now feels fragile, trembling at the edges. The scene opens with silence, no music yet, only the faint sound of wind moving through empty streets. A single street lamp flickers. She walks alone now, the same graceful stride as before, but this time the camera lingers differently. The air around her feels colder, the colors darker. Shadows stretch longer, and the rain that once shimmered now falls heavy, leaving the pavement heavy with loneliness. The song, "It Must Have Been Love," begins again, but softer, more distant, echoing like a memory instead of a present joy. We see fragments of their love, now broken by absence. A bed with one side untouched, the sheets smooth, untouched by warmth. A half-finished cup of coffee sits by the window, steam long faded, the chair opposite empty. The umbrella that once sheltered two now hangs folded. Dripping in silence by the door, the narration comes quietly. Love is delicate. It grows like a flame, but it can vanish like smoke. And when it slips through your hands, it leaves behind a silence heavier than words. The visuals shift between past and present. Quick flashes of memory against the emptiness of now. Two shadows once walked close in the park. Now the path is empty, leaves blowing across without pause. Hands once intertwined tightly. Now only her hand remains, empty, fingers curling as if reaching for what is gone. The cafe window where they once sat together. Now she sits alone, staring into the fogged glass. Her reflection more vivid than reality. The voiceover deepens. It must have been love. But it slipped away. It must have been real, but not strong enough to last. And sometimes that is the cruelest truth, that love can be everything in a moment, and yet not enough to carry forever. The facelessness makes the pain universal. We do not see her tears, only the way her shoulders lower as she walks. We do not hear his voice, only the silence left in its absence. Their story becomes not just theirs, but everyone's, the story of loss that every soul has felt in some form. The music swells slightly, carrying the ache of memory. She passes the flower stand once again. This time the roses are wilted, petals falling, their once bright color fading to brown. She pauses for longer now, staring but does not reach. She simply walks on. A cut to her home. She places the old book he once handed her on the table. She opens it, but the pages are blank, as if their story has been erased or perhaps never written. The camera holds on her hand, resting on the empty page. Then slowly the sound of the rain grows louder. The narration whispers, "Sometimes the hardest part of love is not losing it. It is living with the memory of what it once was. The laughter that lingers in empty rooms, the scent that fades but never fully leaves, the ghost of a touch that still burns even when the hand is gone." We see her walking again, this time through a deserted train station. She stops as though expecting someone to arrive. The camera tilts toward the tracks empty. The wind rushes through, carrying a hollow echo. She closes her hand around nothing and walks away. The visuals become sharper. A wilted rose lying on wet pavement. 2 coffee cups, one cracked. The umbrella, broken by the wind, left behind. The song reaches its emotional peak, but it is no longer a song of love, it is a song of loss. Each lyric is a reminder. Each note a cut. The voiceover closes the section. They say it must have been love, and perhaps it was. But love is not always forever. Sometimes it is a season, a fleeting fire, a beautiful dream that dissolves with the dawn. And yet, even as it fades, it leaves behind something we cannot forget, a shadow, a scar, a memory too heavy to let go. The screen fades to black, the sound of rain continuing alone, carrying us into the quiet before the final chapter. Asterisk, the rain has stopped. The streets are still damp, shimmering under the glow of the lamps, but the storm has passed. The world feels quieter now, slower, as though it has taken a long breath and released it. She walks once more through the city, the same silhouette, the same graceful rhythm, but everything is different. The weight is lighter, the sorrow softened into something gentler, something almost tender. The song, "It Must Have Been Love," lingers again. Not sharp with heartbreak this time, but soft like a distant echo. It doesn't cut, it cradles. The pain has not disappeared, but it has changed shape. What was once heavy grief has become memory. She pauses at the corner cafe, the place where it all began. The window still fogs with warmth inside. Strangers sit where they once sat. She does not enter. She simply watches, a faint smile barely seen through her silhouette. The memory is alive even without him. Love still exists, though only in the past. And sometimes that is enough. The narration begins. Time does not erase love. It does not burn it away or scatter it like ash. Time transforms it. What once was fire becomes light. What once was a wound becomes a scar, and every scar tells a story worth remembering. The visuals shift to fragments of memory, not as pain but as poetry. The umbrella, once broken, now leans against a wall, sunlight catching its edges. A rose petal falls, not decayed, but glowing with morning light. Her hand opens, no longer reaching, but resting in peace against her chest. The camera follows her as she walks along the shore. Waves rise and fall in rhythm, pulling back, returning, eternal. She stops by the edge of the water, her reflection broken by ripples. For a moment, she bends to touch the surface, as if to connect with the person she once was, the love she once held. The water trembles, carries the reflection away, and she lets it go. The voiceover deepens. It must have been love. Yes, and though it has gone, its shadow stays. Not as a burden, but as a gift. To know you have loved is to know you have lived. And sometimes that memory is stronger than the love itself. We see her in her home, placing the book once empty back on the table. This time, as she opens it, the pages are filled not with words, but with images, blurred photographs, glimpses of shadows, reflections of hands almost touching. They are not sharp, not complete, but they are enough. She runs her hand across the page, not with longing but with gratitude. The music swells softly. The facelessness of the story becomes its strength. It is not just her memory, it is ours. The viewer sees themselves, their own love, their own loss, their own bittersweet closure. The camera pans upward, a window opens, curtains billowing with the breeze. Outside, the city continues, alive, unaware, moving forward. She steps closer to the light. We do not see her face. We only see the silhouette outlined against the sky. The narration closes. Love ends, but it never truly leaves. It becomes part of who we are. A whisper in the crowd, a memory in the rain, a rose bending toward the wind. And though we cannot hold it forever, we can carry it always softly, silently, timelessly. The final shot, she walks away, her figure growing smaller against the horizon. The camera lingers on the empty street, where her shadow fades slowly into light. The music holds for one last note, then silence. Black screen. Text appears. It must have been love, but it will always be memory. Fade out.